and welcome to Crypt of Life Tales. Today we are talking about the Redhead Murders. The Redhead Murders are a series of murders that are unsolved, and they happened between October 1978 and 1992. The murders believed to be related occurred in states including Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. Many of the victims are unidentified. All of them were women with reddish hair whose bodies were abandoned along major highways in the United States. Officials believe that the women were hitchhiking or may have engaged in prostitution. As many as 11 unidentified women have been linked previously to the investigation. They were stabbed, strangled, and beaten. Some had been dumped on the ground. One was stuffed into an abandoned refrigerator. Their ages ranged from the late teens to late 30s. In 2018, the suspect was renamed the Bible Belt Strangler because of where the victims were found. On September 16, 1984, the body of a woman, later identified as 28-year-old Lisa Nichols, who also used the last name of Jarvis, was found along Interstate 40 near West Memphis, Arkansas. She was wearing only a sweater. She was found to have been a resident of West Virginia. Authorities were not able to identify and contact her family members for some time, indicating that Lisa was estranged from them. She was not identified until June 1985, 9 months after she was strangled. She was identified through fingerprints. On January 1st, 1985, the bound body of a woman was found near Jellicoe, Tennessee, in Campbell County, down an embankment off the southbound side of Interstate 75. The remains were in an advanced state of decomposition, as she was killed approximately 72 hours before. The victim was killed by strangulation. She was Caucasian and had shoulder-length curly red hair. Her age was estimated to be between 17 and 25, but possibly as old as 30. The victim was found clothed in a tan pullover, a shirt, and jeans. Additionally, she had been wrapped in a blanket, which was later found to have seminal fluid on it. Her eyes were green. The young woman had freckles over her body and various scars, including a burn mark on one arm. She was 10 to 12 weeks pregnant when she died. She had a partial upper denture holding 2 false teeth. It is believed that she was between 5 feet 1 and 5 feet 4 inches when she died, and was approximately 110 to 115 pounds. On September 6, 2018, the Shelby County Sheriff's Office announced that the victim had been identified by fingerprint as Tina Marie Mckinney Farmer of Indiana. She was 21 or 22 at the time of her death and was last seen in Indianapolis, Indiana, accompanied by a trucker said to be headed to Kentucky. She had one daughter prior to disappearing in 1984. She was reported missing by her family at the time, yet authorities in Indiana did not enter her into national databases for some unknown reason. In 2019, DNA evidence identified convicted kidnapper Jerry Leon Johns as the man that killed Tina Marie Mckinney Farmer in December 1984. He was previously convicted in 1987 of aggravated kidnapping, assault, and other crimes in the attack on a woman. Jerry Leon John was suspected of Tina's death. Johns was accused of picking up Linda Shaky in Knox County, Tennessee, 2 months after Tina's disappearance and death. Linda survived the attack after she was bound, strangled, and dumped along I-40. Her testimony assisted in putting Johns behind bars. Like Tina Farmer, Linda had been choked with a piece of cloth ripped from her t-shirt, bound and left for dead inside a storm drain under I-40 near Watt Road. Also like Tina and the other potential victims of the Redhead murders, Linda also had red hair. Jerry Leon Johns died in prison in 2015. On December 18, 2019, a grand jury in Campbell County, Tennessee, ruled that Johns would have been indicted for murder in Tina's death if he was still alive. On April 3, 1985, the skeletized partial remains of a young girl were discovered about 200 yards off Big Wheel Gap Road, 4 miles southwest of Jellicoe, Tennessee, in Campbell County, near a strip mine. She was believed to have been dead between 1 and 4 years. Her age was estimated between 9 and 15. She was found by a passerby. The cause of death was undetermined, which does not rule out homicide. 32 bones, including her skull, were recovered from the scene. Her skull was complete enough to permit a facial reconstruction attempt. A necklace and bracelet made of plastic buttons were found nearby, as well as a pair of size 5 boots and a few scraps of clothing. These items may or may not belong to her. Her hair and eye color are unknown. Her age range is below the median for other victims, but the circumstances of her death may connect her to them. The knot in the cloth found in a piece of material found tied around the neck of the Campbell County victim was very similar to the knot in a piece of material found tied around Linda Shakey's neck 2 months following the Campbell County victim. Forensic analysis shows that the victim is likely from Florida or Central Texas and had later lived in the Midwest, Rocky Mountain states, the Southwest, or the Pacific coast. On March 31, 1985, the skeletonized body of a red-haired female was found in Pleasant View, Cheatham County, Tennessee. She was believed to have died between 3 and 5 months previously, due to an unknown cause. However, her case is possibly linked to the Redhead murders because her remains were found at the side of Interstate 24 between mile markers 29 and 30. She was wearing clothing, a shirt, sweater, pants, and underwear. She was white, between 5 feet and 5 feet 2 inches. Her weight could not be determined. An examination of her teeth showed that the victim had some evidence of crowding and overlapping in her mouth. This woman was believed to be between the ages of 31 and 40 at the time of her death. On April 1st, 1985, the body of a woman was found in a large white Admiral refrigerator in Gray, Knox County, Kentucky, alongside Route 25. Her death was by suffocation. The victim had been dead for a few days and was nude except for 2 distinctive necklace pendants, one of a heart and the other of a gold-colored eagle, and 2 pairs of socks, one white and the other white with green and yellow stripes. There were reports that the victim may have been soliciting a ride to North Carolina over CB radio. Distinguishing features of the body included a number of moles on the right side of her neck, near one ankle and below each breast, a yellow stain upper incisor, and a scar. Other marks on her abdomen indicated that she had borne a child. Her eyes were light brown and her hair was red and nearly a foot long, which fit the pattern of the Redhead murders. After the autopsy, this victim was determined to be between 24 and 35 years old and approximately 4 feet 9 to 4 feet 11 inches. It is also possible that she owned a pair of boots found near the refrigerator. Several missing persons have been eliminated as possible matches for the victim. Over 500 people attended Jane Doe's funeral. On October 1st of 2018, the Knox County Sheriff's Office announced this woman had been positively identified as SB Regina Black Pilgrim of Western North Carolina. A DNA match was made between her and her grown daughter, who said her mother disappeared when the girl was 6 weeks old. Regina also had 4 older children.
In Knox County, Kentucky, the victims, many with red hair, were all dumped along major U.S. highways, all possibly connected to a serial killer who has never been caught. X18's Josh Breslow is on special assignment to tell us more about what's been dubbed the Redhead Murders.
Gray, Kentucky.
It's just a quiet, sleepy little village.
But a gruesome discovery awoke that sleepy little town.
Everybody was talking about it.
It was early April 1985. Here along Highway 25, a woman's body was found inside a refrigerator. She died from asphyxiation. The story dominated local headlines.
It was scary, to find, someone just dumped.
Investigators believe the woman in her 20s or 30s found wearing this jewelry was trying to hitchhike from Bell County, Kentucky.
Decades in this case to get some clarity. But for Lisa Plummer, her quest for answers is starting new, while investigators look for their own in the many cases of missing and unidentified people.
Like saying go, you can't turn back time. You just got to figure out what happened.
The last time Lisa Plummer saw her big sister was at her birthday 35 years ago.
But we never just thought that, we would never see her again.
But after a Thanksgiving gathering in Indianapolis that year, Lisa's sister, 21-year-old Tina McKinney Farmer, vanished.
I always wondered where she was. And watch my mom have to leave this earth not knowing where one of her kids are.
She has come to believe Tina was pushed into the wrong crowd with the wrong guy. She sensed her sister was gone forever, but when authorities couldn't find answers, Lisa looked for her own.
These are all different leads that I got along the way.
Lisa drove to truck stops, took a lot of notes, and eventually she brought the search for her sister to social media.
You can, have good times, you have your cookouts, you have your gatherings with your family, and you raise kids. She never left my mind.
Then late last year, there was a knock on the door. Finally, the break she'd waited so long to hear.
When you finally got the news that she had been identified last year, what went through your head?
Oh, I just dropped. Didn't know what to say. Unbelievable.
Tina's body was found along Interstate 75 in Tennessee on New Year's, 1985, just a few months after her family last saw her. So what led to the big break? Someone alerted the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations to a blog post about Tina's missing persons case, and she matched the description of their Jane Doe. The fingerprints matched up. When asked why it took so long, TBI said Tina's missing persons report was never entered into the databases they use to connect the dots in these kinds of cases.
On February 13, 1983, the naked body of a white female was found alongside Route 250 near Littleton in Wetzel County, West Virginia. A pair of senior citizens reported the body, which they originally had thought was a display mannequin. The body had been placed at the area recently as snow was on the ground but not on the body. Police said that tire tracks and footprints nearby indicated that she was likely transported to this site after death from another location. Their examination included she had died about 2 days previously and was not a victim of sexual assault. Her cause of death was undetermined. Her hair was auburn. By 1985, she was linked possibly to other red-headed women found as homicide victims whose deaths seemed to be related. With an estimated age between 35 and 45, this victim appeared to have been older than the median for the other women grouped as victims of the serial killer. Her height was estimated at 5 feet 6 inches and weight at 135 pounds. Her eyes were presumed to be brown, although post-mortem changes may have affected eye color. She had 2 scars, one typical of a cesarean section and another on one index finger. The woman's legs and underarms were shaven, indicating an attention to grooming, not characteristic of a transient or hitchhiker. Witnesses described seeing a middle-aged white male about 5 feet 10 inches and weighing 185 to 200 pounds near the area where the body was found. The victim may have been seen alive in Wheeling, West Virginia, as an employee or customer at a bar. West Virginia authorities are skeptical of whether this victim is related to other victims in the Redhead murders. On April 14, 1985, the body of a young white female was found in Greenville, Greene County, Tennessee. She was determined to have been killed between 3 and 6 weeks previously by severe blunt force trauma and possibly a stab wound. Her body was in an advanced state of decomposition. Police were able to obtain her fingerprints as well as DNA and dental information. She had been approximately 6 to 8 weeks pregnant shortly before she died, but had miscarried before death. She was estimated to be 14 to 20 years old, possibly as old as 25. She was approximately 5 feet 4 inches to 5 feet 6 inches with a weight of 130 to 140 pounds. She had a slight overbite and had some fillings in her teeth, showing that she had dental care in her life. Her fingernails had pink polish because she had light brown to blonde hair with red highlights. Her case was thought to be possibly related to the Redhead murders. Authorities hoped in late April of 1985 that they would identify her body through fingerprints, but were unsuccessful. 6 missing women were ruled out as possible identities of the victim. She was not identified until November 2018, when officials announced that the victim was New Hampshire native Elizabeth Lamott. She was 17 at the time of her death. Elizabeth had disappeared on April 6, 1984. She was identified through a DNA match after a DNA profile was obtained from Elizabeth's family by New Hampshire police in 2017. She had been staying at a group home in Manchester, New Hampshire, and never returned to her family after gaining furlough. Elizabeth's family was initially asked for a DNA profile to compare to the adult woman victim of the Bear Brook murders. And in regards to the Bear Brook murders, it was found that Elizabeth wasn't the adult female that was found in the Bear Brook murders, because she was later identified as someone else. And I'll probably talk about those murders and another victim eventually. So in 1985, not long after the Greene County victim was found, the states of Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi requested the Federal Bureau of Investigation for assistance with the case. There were inconsistencies among some of the victims and characteristics of the crime scenes, as some were found with or without clothing, and some had a sexual encounter before their murders. A FBI profiler described the suspect as a white male born between 1936 and 1962, and were between the ages of 23 and 49 in 1985, who was likely a commercial trucker frequenting Interstate 40. They estimated his height and weight to be 5 feet 9 inches, 6 feet and between 6 feet 2 inches and 180 to 270 pounds. His work was likely based in or near the city of Knoxville, Tennessee. Theories in the case. Theory 1 would be the suspect Jerry Leon Johns, who at the time was 37 and 85, and he had attacked Linda Shackey, and he was convicted of her kidnapping in 1987. Now, it was announced that DNA from Jerry Leon Johns was matched to Tina Farmer via CODIS in 2016. So at that time, during 85, John was a trucker who resided in Cleveland, Tennessee before his arrest. It has not been specified whether he was considered a suspect in other victims of the Redhead murders, but I think some districts, some counties counted Johns out. Investigators described him as an extremely intelligent ex-convict who had taken courses in criminal justice and who was quick to mention his interest in the psychology of serial killers during an initial interview. And when I read that part, it made me think about Ted Bundy and how intelligent and unlikable he was. Although he was this sick person that went around killing women, you would have never known it by the way that his characteristics when speaking to people or when he wanted to impress people. So a grand jury decided he would have been indicted for the slaying of Tina Farmer, but Johns died in 2015 at the age of 67. So by the time that CODIS had connected his DNA to Tina's murder, it was 2016, a year after Jerry Johns had died. So police don't believe that Johns is responsible for Tina Farmer's death. Well, I'm sorry, they think that he's only responsible for Tina Farmer's death and the attempted murder of Linda Shackey. Theory 2 would be another truck driver, Thomas Lee Elkins, was arrested in West Tennessee's Dyer County in February 1986 after a 20-year-old woman with red hair escaped from the cab of his tractor trailer. She told authorities that Elkins had kidnapped her somewhere in Illinois or Indiana, raped her, and held her captive in his rig until she was able to flee while he slept. He too was questioned about several unsolved homicides, but ultimately was ruled out as a suspect. Now, it doesn't say if each state detectives investigated him or not, so there is a possibility, as well as with Johns, that they could have been responsible for other Redhead murders. It's just that we don't know if all states, like I said, detectives had investigated him or not. But at this time, they said that he is not a suspect, or Johns, for the other murders. Theory 3 would be there was a Illinois-based long haul truck driver named Bruce Mendenhall who was arrested at a Nashville truck stop in connection with the slaying of 25-year-old Sarah Nicole Hulbert there in 2007. Now, Mendenhall currently is serving a life sentence for Sarah Nicole Herbert's murder, as well as the 2007 murder of a second woman whose nude body was found dumped in a garbage can at a Lebanon, Tennessee truck stop. In 2004, the FBI launched the Highway Serial Killings Initiative, a national database of unsolved homicides discovered near roadways. Now, Mendenhall still faces trial on charges of the killing of 2 other women in Indiana and Alabama, and he remains a suspect in at least 2 other homicides. So there's a possibility, when it's all over with, that Mendenhall could be attached to other murders as well. Going through these cases and looking at it, it made me think about a previous video I did in regards to the Canadian Highway of Tears victims, but those were Native American women. But it just made me think about that because those murders were also done. Most of them were done alongside the highway that they named Highway of Tears there in Canada. So it just made me think about that and the similarities in regards to that. Also, many people think that there are several people responsible for these Redhead murders, that there is a possibility that it's more than, several people. And that could be a possibility because, the murders are still unsolved. The only one that's basically solved is the Tina Farmer one. So there's 10 other ones that there could be a possibility. Mendenhall, they still haven't connected him, even though he's suspected of others, but he hasn't been connected as of yet to any of the murders that they're looking into him for. Oh, he was convicted for Sarah Nicole Hubbard, but that's all. And so again, and there's still a possibility that there are other murders out there that haven't been found in regards to these Redhead murders. So it's still a big mystery. And the police said that it's an ongoing case. It's still open. And in regards to Mendenhall as well, prosecutors said that the cab of his truck was like a killing chamber, where they recovered a rifle, a nightstick, tape, handcuffs, latex gloves, sex toys, and a bag of bloody clothing with the DNA of 5 different women. He's a strong suspect, and compared to the other 2 that I spoke about, it seems like this Mendenhall guy could be attached to many of the murders. But again, there's no information on whether they've attached him to anything besides Sarah Nicole Herbert's murder. But I will keep my eye open, and if there's any new information in this case, definitely will do another video. My heart goes out to all the Redhead murder victims, the ones that are unnamed. I pray that they eventually find out their names, and their family can find some closure in knowing that their family member has been found. And I pray that they receive justice, all of them. So thank you so much for watching.